Hello everybody, The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And strap yourself in because we're going on a journey as I take a look at Devin Townsend's newest album entitled Empath. Now, Devin Garrett Townsend is a heavy metal / progressive rock musician from New Westminster, British Columbia, Canada. He has been a vocalist and main staple for bands such as Strapping Young Lad, Casualties of Cool, the Devin Townsend Band, and the Devin Townsend Project. But we are looking at particularly just his solo work on this. So his previous solo albums include Punky Brewster, Cooked on Phonics in 1996, Ocean Machine, Biotech in 1997, Infinity in 1998, Physicist in 2000, Terria in 2001, DevLab in 2004, The Hummer in 2006, Zoltoid the Omniscient in 2007, and Ziltoid 2 Dark Matters in 2014. Now, this guy has been a staple in the metal community for a very long time, though the only other album that I've listened to of his is Transcendence from the Devin Townsend Project. A lot of people were raving about this album, and I didn't really come away from it enjoying it one way or another. I just don't remember much of it, and I found a lot of it just like really over the top. So I haven't listened to it since, but a lot of people were raving about this album. I heard a single from there, Genesis, and you know what? I said, what the heck, let's take a look, let's give it another chance. And boy, am I happy that I did. Because this is a journey of an album. We're talking about all over the place when it comes to this album. You want a song that is basically a anthem for generations to come. You get Spiritual Collide, one of the more powerful anthemic songs that I've heard in a very long time. You want a song that's kind of a little bit more like a between the Buried and Me in terms of how they change their genres throughout the song. You get Genesis, a 7-minute song that is really interesting. It dives into some disco parts, it dives into some old-fashioned vocal parts. You get a little bit of a part that sounds like an elephant stamping across the ground. You get crazy drums, just crazy over-the-top drums. You get choruses everywhere, and just in a 7-minute song in itself feels like a journey. You get a couple more conventional progressive songs, if you will, in Evermore and in Sprite and in Hear Me, but all of them do pretty well on their own. Evermore being one of my favorites, just with the chorus and how just powerful that song is. Hear Me feels like a barn burner, like going from the beginning to the end. You're really going just at a crazy breakneck speed, and Devin Townsend is just shouting his vocals. It's crazy just how insane that song is. Sprite is a little bit more laid back than the other ones, which gives you a breath of fresh air once you are coming from Evermore and Hear Me. Those three is a nice sandwich of a little bit hectic, a little bit calmer, crazy. Then we get to Why. Did you ever want a operatic musical theater song in your prog? You got it. It's a weird detour at that point in time, but it works really well. And it does have a little bit of tinges of the metal and even some screaming at points that, just throws you off when it comes in. But really, really cool way of bringing that in. With those, you also get a couple of instrumentals, Castaway being the first one, which is the opener, which has this very laid-back island feel. Of course, there's waves crashing in and out, and there's a little bit of a choir in there as well. If you listen to the rest of this album and then go back to Castaway, it feels a little bit off, but it's a nice way of diving into this album. Then you also get Requiem, which is a choral instrumental that brings us into the final part of this album. However, we do have one other song to talk about before we get to the latter half of this album, which is Borderlands, the second longest song on this album, spanning at 11 minutes. Not my favorite song on the album by far. It's a little bit weird in the arrangement, and yeah, there's a really cool, like, very trancey kind of part in the middle where it's like very ethereal at that point. But I think the main idea of the song is kind of bland, and the gotta have a good life parts are very annoying to me. So we've already spanned about 50 minutes of this album, and I would say throughout most of it, you're getting some pretty solid songs with Spirits Will Collide, Evermore, Sprite, Hear Me, Why, and even Genesis, even though I think sometimes it gets a little bit too weird when it comes to how it's moving throughout that song. I think it's a very solid song. And you're already getting a bunch of journeys through this once you've gone through that 50 minutes. And then you find out that you have another 23 minutes in one song titled Singularity. Now, I'm going to break down the lyrics real quick before we get into Singularity. A lot of this album is like the meditation that you do, the positive thinking that you have to do in life, and knowing your place in the world and not letting the past get to you or darkness get to you, but trying to stay in the present because just of where our place is in life. Now take that idea and magnify that to 11, because this whole entire album is basically a self-help metal album, if you will, where a lot of these songs are talking about not giving into the darkness of longing for the past or wondering why you did something in the past, and instead looking at your place in the world and in the universe and realizing that you are just an insignificant dot in the world, so why worry about everything else that is around you? Singularity keeps that process going when we get to there by going through this 23-minute journey about loving someone and wanting to be with someone, and darkness that comes in and throughout life trying to get back to this person, and dwelling through those battles in our head, but then coming on the other side stronger and better and showing our power throughout it. And Singularity in and of itself is a journey through this journey, if you will. And it's a phenomenal journey. We start with a part of it that sounds very much like the beginning of Octavarium, another huge song by Dream Theater, where it's slowed down and it doesn't have slide guitar, but it has this guitar part in there that is slow, and then eventually we get much more power as we go on, and then just crazy vocals and just speed when we get to Here There Be Monsters, and then we keep going through, and it starts to die down a little bit with a little bit more laid back ideas. And one of the coolest parts in it is kind of breaking the fourth wall and stopping the song, and you have, I think, someone coming out of the airport and going back home, and they're like humming the main melody and whistling it, and then you hear these pots and pans being played by, I would assume, either drumsticks or cutlery. It makes for a very interesting diversion as we go back into the rest of the song. I will say the Here Comes the Sun part of this song, after we're getting to like the 20th minute, it doesn't feel like a great ender to the album. Those 3 minutes aren't interesting enough for me to be like, yeah, that's the way that you should end it. But all in all, that 23-minute journey is really cool. And it does have Stevie Vai on guitars at that point. There also is apparently a Chad Kroeger sighting on Hear Me, but I barely heard that, so I don't know exactly where that is. Does Singularity hit the highs of me as Octavarium or as Visions from Haken? No. But it's a really cool journey in of this other journey that we are going on. I'm also going to say that this album is not going to be for everyone, or even all metalheads. What I've noticed with Devin Townsend's mixing and with his style of writing is that a lot of it is very over the top. You're getting a lot of anthemic ideas and very just like skull-crushing, like angels singing on high, like just every vision that you can imagine from like the most over-the-top metal that you can get, you're going to hear this. But it's not like very outdated metal. This is very current metal, a lot of speed metal, a lot of very fast drums and fast guitar riffs. The diversity of this also is in the favor of this album. I enjoy much more of this album than I do Transcendence, and it makes me want to go back to that. So if any of what I said sounds interesting, if you are looking for the positive life metal, if you will, of the year, you're going to check this out. But I'll also say this isn't an album that you can always just go back to. It takes a minute to listen to, and it does take a lot of energy to listen to because of just how in your face a lot of this is, and how powerful it is. You can't just like listen to it on repeat. At least I can't. So if you are going to listen to that, bear that in mind. So that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like or hate this album and your reasons why. Share this with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos like this. So Sunday, I will be back with another RU, and that's going to be a little bit of a 180. So until then, this is a music fan, and I'm signing off.